Hello. I have been thinking about my posture all week because today we're going to be talking about posture and how it, integral to your health and wellness and how it gives you a performance edge. I'm Melody Ann. I'm your host. This is Author Nation. We are actually a community for nonfiction authors. If you have an idea for a book, we will help you go from idea to published book and promoting and profiting. If you're interested in learning more, you can drop into authornation.online and get the resource that fits the stage of publishing that you are in right now. That's authornation.online, and it's scrolling past you right now. All right, my guest, Aisha Tahir, is an exercise physiologist on a mission to help busy, desk-bound professionals live a better life through upright posture. She is the founder of Tone and Strengthen, a virtual wellness solutions company. She has helped many desk-bound teams unlock the door to self-confidence, courage, and improved health by providing fitness coaching to correct their posture. Her book, Unhunched, about discovering wellness through posture, is coming out May 2023. I'm so excited to have Aisha here. Let's welcome her. Hi, Aisha. How are you today?
I'm good, Melody. How are you?
I'm well, but I have to admit, I've been thinking about my posture all week. I've been like, oh, I have to correct it before I speak to Aisha.
You look great. I can tell you from here.
It's just one of those things. Well, I've noticed my posture slipping, and I have, when I was a gymnast, and so at one point I had this lovely back, and a doctor said to me, "Look, you better work on your posture, girl. You're going to be hunched when you're older." And I took that to heart. So I'm always a little, aware of my posture, and I feel like I might be in the hot seat today. So you are a human movement specialist.
I am. So, as you described in the introduction, that I'm an exercise physiologist, but within the physiology field, we can specialize in different modalities. And the modality that I picked was human movement science. And what human movement science is, that we help uh, uh, athletes, desk-bound professionals, or even the elderly to move pain-free, what the range of motion is, if there's a increased risk for injury, we would take a look at that. So in a nutshell, we just help you move pain-free.
That's beautiful. Now, is there a story behind why you became a physiologist or why you chose this specific area of study?
Yes, so this is my second act. And the reason I went into this field is because I was suffering from lower back pain. I was working as a computer scientist in corporate, and I had long hours, big projects. I was leading a sedentary lifestyle. What that led to was lower back pain. And after one particular long project, I woke up to a numb left foot, and I'm thinking, oh, what's going on? Maybe I'm having a stroke. And so I drove myself to the ER, and the ER physician is like, oh, this is sciatica.
Mm.
So it was like a radiating pain originating from the lower back down to my ankle, but then it was also numbing my foot. So that started my 3-year journey to find pain-free living. During that time, I started becoming more active, and I started looking at human anatomy and physiology and just learning more about it, like what is going on inside me? Why am I in pain when I sit on the chair for long hours? And over the course of 3 years, I figured it out. Of course, with the help of a lot of physical therapists and chiropractors and a lot of physicians too. But a lot of times what was happening was I was getting medicated by all those professionals, which is awesome, which is needed. Sometimes it is needed. But at the same time, I felt like, oh, this is not the root cause though, right? How do I change that root cause? So my curiosity just kept on growing. And I kept on learning. And that was my entrance into the exercise science field. I was like, oh, I want to learn more. I want to help other busy professionals live a pain-free and productive, healthy life.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. That's an amazing story. So from computer science to physiologist, I love that. No, I want to talk about how we are moving or not moving in the modern world, but I'd like to just first kind of get a glimpse of how did our ancestors move?
Yeah. So, Melody, I love this question because the way.
Oh, you disappeared. I can't hear you. You completely disappeared. I think your mic just did something funny. So while we're waiting for Aisha, I'm asking this because it is such a fascinating question for me, because I see images of how we used to move, or sometimes I see people who are very fit, and they hold positions that I can't hold. And for example, people in the field squatting flat-footed, and most people fall on their rear when they do that. Aisha, can we hear you now? No, we still can't hear you. No, isn't that odd? So yes, I see people flat-footed and squatting. Most people who try. Oh, there you. Oh, now unmute yourself, my dear.
How about now?
Oh, wonderful. Yes, yes. So I was just talking about the squatting. Most of us can't squat flat-footed. We fall backwards, but I think that's actually something humans are supposed to do. And you were going to
Can you hear me now, Melody?
I can hear you. Absolutely. Yes. I can hear you now.
Okay. I can't hear you. So
Oh no.
let me...
I love it when one problem causes another.
If I can. Oh, technology issues. And we were just talking about technology. So
we were just talking about technology.
I guess technology isn't happy with me talking about
it. The revenge of technology. Artificial intelligence is now going to punish us.
I wonder if you can hear me now.
I can hear you, absolutely. Can you hear me?
You can hear me.
Yes.
And I still can't hear you. Okay.
Oh no. And now I can't hear you. No, not at all. This is very odd. All right. And this happens sometimes. Sometimes we get tech issues. Welcome to a live show and a live interview. It happens sometimes. We're going to give Aisha just another. Yeah, there we go. I can hear you now.
How about now?
Yes, I can hear you, and you can hear me.
Okay, and I can hear you too.
Yay! How did humans used to move, Aisha?
Yes. Oh, so I was just gonna badmouth technology, and here we are. The technology's like, hang on, I'm gonna play a trick on you right here. Stop doing that. Okay, so I was gonna say that nowadays, how we are working and moving with, while working with technology is very different from what we did just 100 years ago as human beings, right? So a lot of the people weren't really adapted to chair sitting as much. We were physically active. The agricultural civilizations were, working out in the fields. And if you take a look at the hunter-gatherer tribes and people in the villages of even Asia today and Africa today, you'll see that people still have very similar lifestyle to those ancestors of ours. And the way they are sitting is they're almost like squatting down on the floor with their tailbones tucked under their bodies, which is a beautiful position to have. It's almost like if you're playing leapfrog with the kids, right? That squat position. And what happens is that lengthens our spine. And it also lets our joints move through the full range of motion. So we see that we are bent at the knee joint. So you would see that the knee joint is completely bent. And when you compare it to chair sitting, we have our knee only bent 90 degrees. So it's not a full range of motion for our knees. So every time you squat down and up from the floor, you get a full range of motion. You're not getting that on the chair. So that's how our ancestors moved. Another common position that you can see in our ancestors, and even if you look at today's villages, is that they sit cross-legged, just like, crisscross applesauce. I used to say that to my kids all the time. Okay, let's sit crisscross applesauce. Or they're kneeling. So in that, of course, we see that there's human movement science involved, that, the range of motion is complete. We also see that the spine is lengthened, and there are many other benefits because the muscles are activated. So we are burning more energy in those positions as compared to sitting on the chair. But just looking at that, you can also say that you're more calmer and you're literally grounded when you're down on the floor. So we as human beings, I would like to say, is that we are losing the connection with Earth with the increased sedentary lifestyle and the way we are sitting in chairs so often now.
Yeah. And so if I try to be flat-footed and squat right down, I fall backwards. I can't do that. And I'm aware that I should be able to do it, and yet I can't. Although I have to admit that I actually sit cross-legged on my chair. I'm sitting right now in a kind of a cross-legged yoga pose on my chair. I do that all the time. I don't know why. So I'm glad that that's healthy, because I often think, oh, this is probably really bad for me. I should be sitting properly. But I sit like this all the time. All right, let's talk about your book, because you have a book coming out, Unhunched, coming out in May. I'm really excited about it. I love the title because, that whole idea of, the hunch, right? So what is the premise of the book?
So the premise of the book is that we have embraced technology, and it has brought many conveniences into our life, right? Which also includes productivity, right? We're automating many systems, and with the AI coming in, we are looking at even increased amount of automation and productivity, which is awesome for our economy, for us as human race in general. But there's no framework to protect our musculoskeletal and mental health while using the technology. So the premise of this book is that it provides you the framework that you need. It's like small, bite-sized habits that you can incorporate during your workday to be able to live a healthy, pain-free life while embracing technology, while being productive at work.
Yeah. So I have to say, I love the idea. I love the fact that you went from computer science technology to, talking about posture and how technology in us sitting in front of computers leaves us hunched and, unwell. I love that you've made that transition, because it shows me that, some people are, don't sit and don't do this. And it shows me that you're realistic about this. You're realistic about our lifestyle, and yet you want to help us improve it, which I think is a really good position for an author to be in, right? Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because, we don't want to leave technology behind, because it's part of our evolution. It's part of our innovation as human beings, as human race. And again, it has brought a lot of convenience into our lives. So you will learn about that in my book. But I also take a look at our ancestors, just the way we were talking before, and even the tribes that are still following that lifestyle. Can we incorporate some of it into our lives today, even if it's not, going back to that lifestyle completely? And that's the only way we can practically actually incorporate any framework into our lives today.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So with all that in mind, who would you say is your ideal reader?
My ideal reader is someone who spends hours behind the computer screen. And that's pretty much almost everybody nowadays, right? Unless you are doing a physical job, like maybe, in construction, or you're a professional athlete, maybe, okay, you're not spending that much time on the technology. But other than that, almost everybody is doing that. And that includes authors, right? As I was writing the book, I was thinking about it. I was trying to practice all the things that I was going to preach. And I realized that, how much authors would need this book.
Absolutely. Lots of sitting down and writing, right? So, Unhunched, what is the promise to the reader in Unhunched?
The promise to the reader is that you can have small habits which are going to pay big dividends. And let me break it down what those small habits are. So my book includes a posture correction model or framework, which is called BRACE. The acronym is BRACE. B for breathing, R for relaxation, A for activity, and CE for corrective exercise. So if you take a break every 30 minutes for just 2 to 3 minutes, and you do one of this, if you practice one of the pillars of this model, which is maybe taking slow, full breaths for 2 minutes, right? And maybe next time you take a break, you just stretch at the desk. And I'm stretching right here, lifting my arms up towards the ceiling, easy like that. Or for the next one, you maybe go and go to the water cooler and grab water, right? So those small habits every 30 minutes, or maybe sometimes it's not practical every 30 minutes, every 60 minutes, it's practical. If you do that, that's going to accumulate over the day, and it's going to lengthen your spine and make sure that your posture is upright and you have your natural posture that you were born with, right? Yeah. It's just that, as soon as we enter kindergarten, we start losing the posture because now we have restrictive movement, which is in the chair.
Yeah, it's such a good point, right? It starts in kindergarten. So much starts in school. It's a terrible thought, isn't it? So I like what you say about taking a break every few, whether it's 30 minutes or 60 minutes, or even if it's 90 minutes, taking a break every 90 minutes is better than not taking any breaks. So we used to be preached, what fitness people used to preach to us is you need to have sustained activity for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes a day. But recently I've been hearing, look, if you can do 2 minutes 10 times a day, you've still got your 20 minutes in. If you're doing 5 minutes, 5 times a day, you're still getting 25 minutes in. Now, is that advice because we aren't doing the sustained exercise, or is that advice because hey, that's good enough and that works, or maybe both?
So it's a little bit of both. And this is such a wonderful question. So let me go down into both the options. I'm going to dig into both the options. So the first one is like steady state exercise, or let's say it doesn't have to be steady state, but it's a longer interval of exercise. Let's say 30 minutes, right? You're going for a 30-minute dance class, or you're going on your elliptical for 30 minutes. That's great. That's awesome. If you can get your heart rate up and move in a certain way, that is still good. But what's also good is that you move during the day. So those 30 minutes that you're going to do for the long interval are not a replacement for what you are going to do the rest of the day. Yeah. So there is a certain class of movement abnormality and deformity that we are finding out is, or unhealthiness we are finding out is called the active sedentary individuals. They go for an hour in the gym, but then the rest of the 14 hours that they're awake, they're sitting down. And most of the chairs, of course. So that 1 hour is awesome. Don't undo it if you are doing it and you like doing it. But that's not the replacement for sitting down for the rest of the day. And our body responds best to movement and varying positions of the body throughout the day. So it's a little bit of both.
I want to come back to that in a minute, but I have one more question about the book. Unhunched. What do you hope that Unhunched achieves?
I hope that Unhunched spreads the message of better movement to every reader and throughout the world, and that it can serve as a North Star for busy desk-bound professionals to incorporate healthy habits during the workday, so that we can live an empowered and pain-free life.
Yeah, nice. And can you tell us a little bit about the structure of the book? What kind of things we find in it? I know you did talk a little bit about Brace, but just kind of the structure of the book, what we can expect to find in it and things like that.
Yeah, so the first section of the book is dedicated to the evolution and history of posture. And in the evolution and history, I dig deep into why. Why did we become unhunched in the first place? Because you know that we had a common ancestor with the chimpanzees, and we were walking on all fours, and it took millions of years for our ancestors to attain this upright posture. So, even there's a theory in my book, which there's a research study that is quoted, which suggests that we might be going back to that four-legged position. But so it made me curious, and so that's in there. And then I also discussed the posture of the ancient civilizations and how they preserved posture even though they were changing and evolving over time. And now it is only now after the Industrial Revolution that we have started really seeing the deformation of our posture and increase in the chronic diseases because of it. Second part of the book focuses on the first three components and pillars of the model, which is breathing, relaxation or stress reduction, and activity. And I explore in that section how our breathing and our stress, it could be work stress, it could be stress, financial stress, it could be physical stress, how it plays into having poor posture. And then activity is like being sedentary, which you can relate to, that of course you're sitting in the chair for long hours, but why? What's happening in the background? Like our lower leg muscles are getting shut down. That's a big red flag. And that not only is not good for your cardiovascular health, it's not good for your posture. Right? And then the last section is where I discuss all the different postural anomalies that I see in my clients who work behind computers. And there are corrective exercises for each and every postural anomaly going along with that. So readers will be able to get a whole program of corrective exercise that they can do on their own time, and there are videos for those uploaded on YouTube as well.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Well, let's talk a little bit about posture, and you've touched on it just briefly, but just to kind of go back to it before we move into some solutions. How is technology and other aspects of our human or our modern life harming us, harming our posture specifically?
Yeah. So first, let's talk about stress here, because when we are working with technology, we are experiencing all these different kinds of stressors, which we probably don't think of, but they're there. First is, you have a big project coming up and there's a deadline, or your relationship at work is suffering, right? All of those are going to play a huge role into how you're living your life on a daily basis. And one of the things that does to us, which we are not probably as cognizant of, is that it makes us have this rounded shoulders, and then we drop our chin to our chest because we are trying to protect our energy center right here, which is our chest and heart. Second is also because one of the way we show up when we are afraid, right? We are fearful, is like this. So that really leads to poor posture too. And the other thing is not having enough activity, right? If you have work stress, you're like, no, I can't step away. I cannot step away. It's going to make me even more stressed out, right? A lot of my clients come to me like, they're like, no, this is all well and good. Like, we love your program and we love that you're telling us, but I cannot step away. So here's what I tell them, and I'm going to tell this to your listeners too, that if you step away for just 2 to 3 minutes every 30 minutes, this is what you're doing to your body. You're increasing the oxygen that's going into your brain and to your muscles. Okay. Not only are you disconnecting, hopefully you are. I tell my clients, don't take your phone at that time, but hopefully you are disconnecting from this technology, right? And you're getting some kind of movement, even if it's breathing, you're increasing the oxygen levels in your blood, you're increasing the oxygen level in your brain. And that oxygenated brain now is going to be more focused when you come back. You're going to be more productive.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, part of the answer to how can authors create a more confident body language, right?
Yes.
Would you like to add to that, though?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So when you have when you are doing your stretches, which are let's do one right now. Mostly, this is what's happening when we are sitting on the computers. And this is going back to our previous question. What's technology doing? Well, technology is bringing us right here for many reasons, right? Stress. It could be just because we have a habit of just being here. It could be you're not ergonomically fit. Or your office setup is not ergonomic, right? Because of any of those reasons or a combination of those reasons, you're here, you have shoulders rounded, your head is down. And if you were to see the lower body, you have an extreme arch in your back, because when you're here, your hips are going to follow. And that creates an extreme arch or anterior pelvic tilt in our bodies. So when you're here, well, you're restricting the oxygen. Now, the stretch would be simple and easy. Give me a shoulder shrug right here. Drop your shoulders down and back and align your head over your spine. That's it. If you can do this, just do this 3 to 4 times, you're going to feel better. Because what are you doing? You are resetting your shoulders from this position to back into their neutral position.
Yeah.
And all it took was what, maybe 10 seconds here. Another good stretch is to have your arms come out into like a Titanic pose or a T. Let me just center myself here. Okay. And then you're going to squeeze your shoulder blades towards each other and hold it and then release. So simple stretches. But what that stretch did was it stretched our chest right here. Again, placed our shoulder girdle back into place, which is needed. We need a reset every 2 to 3 minutes. So that's all we need to combat the stress of technology. That's all we need to get better breathing patterns going and have more oxygen. And we will be more productive. You will not only be healthy, but you'll be more productive at work.
Yeah. And that stretch, when you pull your shoulder blades together in the back, you're also strengthening your muscles that are, so when you sit back normally, you won't be hunched because those muscles are strong enough to pull you back, right?
Exactly.
So there's so many. I love the fact that there are physical benefits, there are mental benefits, emotional, like the benefits are whole. It's not just, posture. It integrates into every aspect of your life. Thank you.
Of course. And one of the things I would like to add is, like, I'm now getting a little technical, and you will find this in my book too. But with this rounded shoulder, closed posture, or hunched over posture, we are creating muscle asymmetry. So all of this, like the brace model, it is going to make you symmetric. It's going to promote those muscle balances that we want to see. So the reason we keep going back here is because our muscles are like Play-Doh, and they kind of form the shape of the mold you put them in. So if you're staying here for, let's say, 8 hours at a minimum, right? So for the rest of the 8 hours, they're going to be here too. You might not notice it.
Yeah.
So these exercises are just undoing those muscular imbalances, just like you said. They're strengthening the back or weak muscles, and then lengthening the front and tight muscles that happen over time while we are using technology.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. I'm really looking forward to your book when it comes out. Really, really looking forward to it. I'd love to talk a little bit about, what you can do with what you have, so to speak. So I'm sitting at my desk. I have a very typical office chair, which really encourages me to sit with my legs straight. I've just changed, and my feet on the ground. And this is something I've been taught. If this is the chair I have, and let's just say I can't afford to go out and get a new chair. If this is my setup, what can I do in my chair while I'm working? Should I fold up my legs? Should I, what can I do?
Wow, that's again a wonderful question. I'm enjoying this interview so much, just so you know.
Me too.
So there are a few things that we can do while having our existing chair. I actually never recommend my clients to go out and buy a new chair unless they want to. Like unless they're like, oh, okay, my office has that budget for myself and for my department. So what would you recommend? And in that case, there are recommendations in my book. There is a whole resource section, and you can go and look at it. But if you have the chair, which you like and you want to use, you can use props at home to customize it to yourself so that you are sitting ergonomically and have a good posture. So one of the things I tell my clients is that one thing that you should be aware of is that your hips or the bones right where your gluteals are, they're called sits bones. So if you feel those bones, you're going to scoot them all the way back to the backrest of the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. And then you're going to lift. So it's almost like you have a slight hinge, and then you're going to lift your back up. So make sure that your upper back is attached to the back of the chair. Mm-hmm. And now in the small of our lower back, where we have a slight curve is okay. It's when it's an excessive curve, then we have lower back pain because of it, and we have muscle imbalances. To protect our lower back, I suggest that you roll like a small towel or a blanket and pop it in the small of your curve and keep it there, because that's going to support your lower back. It's almost like, the chairs that come with the lumbar support. That's what we are creating. Yeah, there. Nice. Now it's supported. And then if we look at the lower body, it's that our feet should be flat on the ground. If they're not touching the ground and your chair is higher than what you need, you can put like a empty shoebox as a footstool, or you can invest in a footstool and place that under your desk. One other thing that I highly recommend people to do is to elevate their screens to their eyesight. So your eyes should be looking directly at the screen. You shouldn't be looking down. And a lot of times the height of this desk or the computer screen is not such. So people are looking down all the time at the screens. So for that, if you work on a laptop, it's an easy fix. You can go on Amazon and get a laptop stand. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I was at a store earlier this morning and I saw the cashier have that on her laptop. And she was moving it with her when she was going to the different kiosks. And I'm like, this is awesome. People are learning about it. So why? Because your body will follow your vision, your line of vision. So if you're looking down, you're going to be hunched over. You have no option because your brain is going to feel like, oh, you need to move forward.
Yeah.
But if you're looking up, now your whole skeleton is going to be stacked and you're going to have a better alignment.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Okay. Thank you. Because a lot of people, this is what I have. And so, and just, I actually have my laptop on a stand, and I have a second screen, and I actually have a stack of books, and then it's on top of the stack of books because I'm like, I don't need to buy another, like a stand for that. I'll just stack up some big books, and I have some big books underneath it. So that one's up as well. Okay. What if we have an ideal situation? I actually have a sit-stand desk. And although I was tempted to stand for this interview just because I thought it was the right thing to do, I'm like, no, do what you normally do. I usually sit for my interviews. So I have a sit-stand desk, and I noticed that you are standing right now as well. And so I'm assuming you have at least a stand desk or a sit-stand desk. What if we can, create something ideal? What if we can get a sit-stand desk? Or I don't know, I've seen those, I've seen treadmills that go under your stand desk so you can walk while you work. Can you give us kind of like that, the big, wow, if only I could, this would be ideal picture now?
That's a great question. And some innovation is happening in this field, in the ergonomic office setup field. If I was to create something, it would be, I think I have to just put this intention out in the world, because over the period of the last 2 years while I was doing the research on the book, this is what I found. So standing is awesome. You should be standing half of your day. So the half of the time that you're spending at the computer or at your work should be spent standing, because it's superior to sitting down, okay? But it doesn't mean that you have to stand all day too, because you can develop ankle and foot issues, especially plantar fasciitis. If you have flat feet, you're even at a higher risk. And if you don't, you can still develop it, because that's too much time on a hard surface. Okay. And also, again, it's the same fixed position, and our body likes variable positions. So the other option would be like, with the sit to stand desk, you sit on the chair sometime, right? You spend some time on the chair. Then third option can be that you cross your legs, just like you explained that you were doing, right? That's an awesome option. And the final option would be that you also spend at least half an hour on the ground in some way or form. So there are floor desks that are becoming very popular.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sitting on the floor is not only just good for your posture, but it increases your balance. It increases your proprioception, which is also part of, how we align our bodies in the world. So that's part of posture. And it's a big determinant of our longevity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So spending some time on the floor is also required. So as much as you can, change your body positions. So for one meeting, take that meeting standing up. If you are interviewing me, just like you said, and you're comfortable sitting down on the chair, sit down on the chair. Now, after this interview, maybe you go and set up your floor desk and have a seat on the ground and put your laptop there and do the work.
Yeah, yes. And in terms of floor desks, so I don't have a floor desk. I'm probably not going to go invest in a floor desk, but I have one of those laptop trays or pillows, if you know what I mean. And even if I didn't, I could just I could go to the dollar store and just grab a tray and get a cheap pillow and kind of mock something up, right? Just kind of make something. I could just sit on the floor cross-legged. Now, am I sitting on the floor cross-legged with my back against the sofa, or am I using my muscles to hold myself up while I'm sitting on the floor at my floor desk, or my, using the laptop tray or whatever I choose to use?
So that's a great question too. It is up to you, and it depends on my client's ability to hold their back straight. So if I know a client has an excessive curve, posterior, sometimes it's an excessive C curve, sometimes it's an excessive curve towards the front of our bodies. Either way, it's not healthy. And I know that client might not be comfortable, sitting down with their back just on its own. So I would suggest that they have the floor desk placed against a wall. And then we start moving them away from the wall slowly. Maybe they're putting a cushion behind their lower back to support their lower back. And then we start removing that cushion slowly, very slowly, small progression. But in 8 to 12 weeks, mostly my clients are pretty good sitting upright on the chairs, and or Pilates ball, like people like those big stability balls
Yes.
to sit on, and that's perfectly fine. If you have an extra curvature in your spine, then it's not good for you because you're not engaging those core muscles that are necessary. So you do need to work on your muscle imbalances and posture first, and then go into those positions where your back isn't supported. So it depends on the client.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I will admit that I have a exercise ball under my desk, which I put there thinking I would sit on it on sometimes. And if I'm honest, I use it far more often to put my feet up than I do to actually sit on. It's terrible, isn't it? I know I'm not using it properly, but every once in a while I put my feet up on and I use my exercise balls. So
I love that. That's a great way to change your body position and extend your legs.
thank you for not being judgmental.
No, that's really good. I like that. I like that.
Brilliant. Oh, so until your book comes out, I know you have a guide on your website, Get Your Guide to Better Posture. And the link is in the description for everyone. I would go grab that. And, Aisha, you've offered so much value. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to find in your guide.
So in my guide, there is, I talk about what proper posture is, like what are we looking at when we look at our spine. So we are looking at those 3 curves, and you can learn more about it in the guide. So I'm not going to give it away right now. And also benefits of good posture. And then why do we need posture, right? And then I go into the whole ergonomic setup. So if you missed some of it in the interview, and of course I didn't go into every single body position, but when you look at the guide, it describes exactly how you should be holding sitting, or how you should be standing at your desk. And then also your posture while you sleep is important, because we spend 1/3 of our lives on the bed, right? So in the bed. So how should you have your sleeping posture so that your spine is aligned? I go into that. And then 4th is while you're driving the car. It's funny because I was in an Uber ride, and the Uber driver told me that she has been driving for a year now, and now her lower back hurts.
Mm.
And the doctor said that she should probably get a surgery. And I'm like, oh, really? So, and she was already, correlating it to increased number of hours she was spending behind the wheel. So I gave her a few tweaks right there and then, and she's like, oh, I feel better already. So you will find that adjustment that I gave to the Uber driver in the guide too. So those are a few things you will find in the guide.
I love that. Work, sleep, and driving, the 3 things we spend probably 90% of our life doing these days, right? It feels like it anyways, right? We're either working, we're sleeping, or we're driving somewhere. Thank you so much. Aisha, when your book's out, where are we going to be able to find that?
So the book is going to be on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo. So any major book retailer where you buy your books, it is going to be on those platforms.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you've really enjoyed this conversation. I know I have absolutely loved it. Unhunched is coming out in May. So keep your eyes out for that, because it's going to be packed with even more valuable information than what we've had today. Thank you, Aisha, for coming. And don't forget to join me next week. We are going to be talking to Dwayne Scott Cerny. We'll be talking to him about becoming an expert and his book, Selling Dead People's Things. And we will see you then.